Hello, welcome to another casting attempt from myself. I didn't do that for a while. I wanted to. I did a few analyses, but I was a bit scared on trying a cast. But today I will do it, and I picked a random replay from the vault. TA4Life against Crazed on Badlands looked like it might be an interesting game, which I hope. Both playing a Cybran, starting first land factory, and with the default build of factory 2 pigeons, 3 mass extractor, Crazed making 4 mass extractor, no big difference here, and then going to move the ICU to assist the hydro plant and securing later on the important side expansions with the ICU. Important on this map is this reclaim in various spots. This reclaim on the sides and the center being fairly safe to reclaim for each player. However, this reclaim in the middle, which is not that much compared to the total amount of reclaim on the map, however, it still can make the difference. So this is contested reclaims that both players try to get, and it can make the difference who will get an early edge on this map. Little scout coming in from TA4Life, probably trying to intercept or at least discover early raids from Crazed that might try to sneak to this engineer, killing him, which can mess up your plans if you rely on this mess and this engineer dies in the process of reclaiming, and then suddenly you would stand out of mess that you planned with. So Crazed going with second land here. Definitely not the usual meta game on this map. Usually player go second air, and in general on bigger maps air is a lot stronger than on small maps. So TA4Life having the default setup with second air, starting with the first bomber, and we will see how much damage this bomber can do, considering that Crazed is apparently trying to play completely without air, already preparing anti-air. So interesting change of strategy here, nothing you would see usual. We'll find out how well this works. He definitely expects air as he can, and already preparing to counter the bombers. Also making the right guess that the bomber will most likely try to raid the left side. No anti-air here. However, he might eventually need anti-air in this place as well. Not just as yet, because it looks like he chased the bomber away, but the bomber still escaped alive, killing the back engineer. So Crazed investing a lot into anti-air. He has one factory running only on anti-air, which might sound like a lot, but considering that TA actually has also one air factory making only air, it's quite a reasonable investment, and he will end up with a lot anti-air very soon. So this kill for the bomber, which was fairly close, will not yet justify the air for TA4Life. However, the downside of this very much is the lack of scouting that Crazed can put in. Not only to scout for potential taching or other strategies that TA might do that he can miss right now if he doesn't scout the base at least once to see once a factory gets upgraded. but also the scouting for his own raids and for his attacks, that is very useful, as you can scout ahead of your units and don't need to follow your units with scouts, and can get the information that you need a lot earlier. So that's definitely another downside of playing without air. Try starting a little bit to eco, otherwise making so far 6 mainland factories, 1 well, let's just say 7 factories, not makes a difference between these. Starting another few factories on that side, probably to send engineers with a tag move to secure this reclaim, while a bit less factories from TA. And TA also having quite some trouble with raiding units slipping past, only as a ACU to defend on this side, while Crazed having his anti-air, which can, as speciality of Cybran, also defend. Not very efficient, but can see it here that this group of anti-air will be able to defend against this Mantis, saving this engineer's life. So the anti-air so far working well without air for Crazed, having only one little causality that did not matter too much. Little bit more ecoing going down, while also starting the upgrade to Tech 2. No assist on it, so just letting it run slowly. Meanwhile, looks like the A is not going Tech 2 yet, he's still playing more Tech 1 factories. Maybe expecting heavy land aggression from Crazed, as he is so far quite aggressive with his Mantis, and with a few amount of factories he has more, he can pressure quite a bit, forcing TA4Life to build more factories. In case Crazed would also build more factories, then he don't want to be left with his guard down and be teching while he's already pressured, which Crazed can use right now to switch to Tech 2 rather heavily, for a moment producing almost no Tech 1 units anymore. Only 2 factories, actually only 1 factory, as this one is still making anti-air. Engineers going down here, and I would assume also engineers here, not yet. Already made 3, however, to get the reclaim. So having only 2 factories now producing Tech 1 units, so being relatively vulnerable while these factories are teching, ending up with not many units. However, the A is still in the process of building up his army, so he can't do too much pressure himself, and Crazed gained a lot of ground previously that the A is now recovering back, but it will not allow him to abuse this vulnerable period from Crazed before it is over. Also, TA4Life seemed to have not ecoed yet. He invested everything into land units, and Tech 1 Mantis so far now starting to eco, but being already significantly behind, with Crazed having already 3 Tech 2 mass extractors, and on top the Tech 2, which will make it very hard for the A to use all his Tech 1 factories, as he want to go Tech 2 himself now, and he just did. Definitely correct move here to react to that Tech 2. However, all these land factories are now not that great anymore, because they can only produce Tech 1 units, and that's not exactly what he wants against the Tech 2 units from Crazed. Little raid getting countered here by Crazed's army. The A trying to force something, not just that successful. And another aggression putting on by the A, but not that decisive anymore. He's deciding to tried to make a run by avoiding this group of units. However, not being decisive enough here might cost him the little time that he had before this army gets back from defending the left right to defending the center right as well. First rhinos coming in for Crazed, just in time to clean up this army, so TA might have had success if he timed the center right with the left right, so that this army cannot defend both. However, this rhinos also making a great job cleaning up about 20 kills across them without any casualties whatsoever. They did not even lose much HP, so definitely a problem now for TA is that he just lost his entire army in these both raids and already had smaller Tech 2 production, increasing Tech 2 production heavily now as well. However, now in opposition to why Crazed was doing it, he is actually vulnerable right now, and if Crazed pushes fast before this Tech 2 factories come online, they are online now, but they will take a while to produce meaningful amount of units, and Crazed should be able to punish this if he is aggressive enough and realizes the advantage that he has. However, with economy lead, he doesn't even need to. He can play it relatively safe. Inside should maybe take that back as TA ecoed heavily in the meantime while he was aggressive himself, allowing him to spend resources elsewhere while Crazed was busy to defend his attack. So Crazed now going for another push, but deciding against it when he starts to run into the rhinos from TA, who has a significant amount himself by now. Decides to retreat his army. Maybe this attack might have worked if he decided to attack the weak side here or here. He went very close to the base, allowing the reinforcement rhinos from TA to be there in time to defend. However, he does not want to make the same mistake as TA, trying to do aggressive raids and losing his army in the process, gifting reclaim and making yourself vulnerable for counter-attacks. Missile launcher coming up from Crazed as well. Do we have TMD from TA? Yes, we do. However, just as a power generator, yet definitely the most important target to cover, but nothing as a mass extractor yet. It's planned, but looks like if Crazed starts to scout it now as well, now mid-air when scouting becomes relevant, smart decision, not trying to play without air the whole game, which would be really hard as you can't scout in example for tactical missile defense. So now he can wait until this missile defense is started to be constructed, and then he wants to fire his missiles before it's done. He does not want to fire the missile too fast because he does not want to give away that he got a missile launcher. And in the moment where you shoot your missiles, you can be sure that TA4Life will start making TMD. So you want to gather as many missiles as possible before you give away that you have a missile launcher, so you can do as much damage as possible at once. And looks like 3 or maybe 4 mass extractors will go down to this missile launcher, so absolutely was investment. TA, after being a little bit late on Tech 2 already, having trouble to get up all the TMD in time. And at the same time, while TA being busy to defend his base against the tactical missile launchers and trying to rebuild his losses, getting a bit caught in the middle, losing a lot of rhinos. About 5, 6, 7 rhino wreckages here. Here's another one. So 8 rhino losses, probably mostly from TA, and most importantly, the reclaim now with the unit advantage that Crazed got can secure the reclaim for himself. TA does not have enough units to push that away. In fact, probably he does, but it will come down to micro. Looks like Crazed does have more rhinos. TA Tech 1 numbers being not that relevant here. Also the anti-air, especially against rhinos, they don't really tank damage as well, because the rhino is not losing any damage to overkill against the anti-air. Otherwise it might be quite nice. An example against obsidians, that if one mobile anti-air takes a whole shot, that's a big amount of damage that the obsidian wasted, and in that sense anti-air would be actually a useful addition to your army. Here, however, it is rather giving free veterancy, while of course it's still fulfilling its main purpose, defending against air. So the reclaim, TA trying to get his share now, with both armies looking rather similar size. I would think Crazed has a few units more. He could potentially push, but he does not want yet, as he went Tech 3 and making loyalists and bricks right now. So he knows that he just needs to wait until his Tech 3 units reach the front line. TA is scouting it, reacting to it while going Tech 3 himself, but Crazed again on the timing advantage. Let's see how much damage he can do this time with it. On the Tech 2 stage he could not use that advantage. That is fairly small, so it's very hard to abuse it, if it's possible at all when your opponent plays well. But whatsoever, he did not manage to get a great advantage from it, except maybe a small eco lead. However, mostly the lead coming right now, that thing in that panel already shrinked again. The biggest impact probably made this missile launcher. So Crazed trying for, compared to the army sizes that grew really big because there was not much fighting going on in the last time. Small raid, but still a really significant force out of about 10 rhinos coming in raiding this side. One Medusa, so in theory possible to take out this point defense. With rhinos that becomes extremely hard, because you have to kill the wall, you can't get past the wall with rhinos. Medusa going down, and it would take a long time anyway to kill Medusa with a point defense with one single Medusa. TA4Life sending units to clean up this raid. Quite a few rhinos taking damage from this point defense might be just enough to allow TA to defend this without too many losses, as engineers in this place are still alive, so he can rebuild very fast. While if this rhinos would be able to take on the engineers potentially, it would take a long time for TA to rebuild this, and increasing the time where he does not have these mass extractors as much as possible, increasing the significance of this raid. Crazed starting to position a little bit more aggressive, maybe looking to attack on the first opportunity. TA is actually the one attacking. Not sure if I agree with that decision. Running his rhinos into a force of loyalists. Looks like the brick that was here at some point died to something. TA now having his own bricks himself, sending the first brick to the right side, probably expecting Crazed to be aggressive here. Meanwhile, the sites that TA could claim for himself starting to annoy Crazed with mobile missile launchers. Tech 3 factory here in that position. Not the safest position, considering that it will be under constant fire now from mobile missile launchers. Crazed making Tech 3 mobile artillery, but always difficult to shoot up a mountain. Much easier to shoot down from it. Crazed now took his time, but deciding to attack now, making mostly loyalists, which might be a good idea as long as TA does not have as much Tech 3 in the places where he needs to have it, can abuse the slow speed of the bricks that are only trying to reach the defense now. As here from TA, getting part-wise caught up in the battle, part-wise trying to defend. Maybe not the best spot to be in this situation, as if Crazed turns on him, he does not have any point to retreat, and this crater is blocking his own units from helping him too much. Looks like Crazed missed out this opportunity, instead decides for another raid after this position is still not rebuilt yet, and with this raid on this other expansion he prevents TA from getting his units in place to defend this, so this stays vulnerable even now, while the loyalists going to be able to walk around the back, bricks having to catch up, and now TA4Life being in a difficult situation, having to clean up these units and chasing them with meaningful amounts of bricks, which is quite a bit against so many loyalists. Even so, all these units are low on hit points, while at the same time needing to send units to the other side, preventing him from doing the same thing on the left, which would be much more hurtful, as there's many tech-to-mass extractors here. So he needs enough army in both places to defend against this army, because if he only sends army here, then Crazed might turn around and raid this again. And all the time this happens, Crazed has time to build up another army or to eco away. Looks like he's just doing both right now. However, TA4Life doing a really good job getting this territory back as fast as possible, so if he is not losing anymore, and then we'll have a little bit time to defend against the other army, this might be even a good attack for him if he manages to get a reclaim. But it looks rather unlikely right now that he will be able to defend against this attack while still dealing with this army. Here you can see the dilemma for him, having to chase with 4 bricks, and this 4 bricks will be missing in the middle now. But in terms of poor mass extractor, not too much damage was done with this. It's mostly the distraction of the ace units and forcing them to be in bad positions for him that allows Crazed now to push his advantages more. The raids himself on the mass extractors were not that relevant, as TA4Life can just rebuild them, but having the unit advantage now on the front line and still making loyalists instead of bricks, which proves to be very effective here, as TA is just not able to defend in time and get his bricks everywhere where he needs them in time. So Crazed now raiding this position again, while TA made some relatively nice point defenses here. Not really a match for bricks, however against loyalists still decent, able to defend at least this side of the map. So the biggest danger that Crazed raids this position, getting a small advantage, but at the same time is able with that to deny this position, is countered by now by TA. So more damage done, however still not too significantly. If TA is very fast with rebuilding this, the reclaim he gains in return might make up for it. But on this side much bigger problems. Tech 3 artillery raining down fire on the production, possibly killing units in production already, which will make it very hard that for TA4Life, even if he would have the mass, which still takes a little while right now for him to claim it back. Even if he will or would get it, then this is making it hard for him to produce meaningful amount of units. And Crazed building up scary amounts of loyalists right now. The bricks that defended against the back now reaching the front line again, but I'm not sure if this will be enough for this massive force of Crazed, and especially running the ACU so close into Loyalists is probably the only thing TA has left to defend right now, but Loyalists probably is even better than the more expensive bricks against ACU, as the stun is just devastating, preventing the ACU from overcharging too much. And now Crazed is finally moving and deciding to punish TA4Life for the ACU position that he honestly did not have too much chance of preventing, as there's not too many safe positions on the map where he can be. He can try to hide behind the shield, but then the firepower of the ACU would be lacking in the last attempts to defend. So, nice game, very interesting and refreshing playstyle from Crazed, sorry, to build without early air, building air later only to scout, deciding to make a more anti-air, land-based strategy with expecting the air, however, and not just ignoring it, countering it with anti-air. Seemed to have worked really well. However, not really getting any advantage out of the anti-air, more proving that he is able to play without air. But the real differences in this game were probably rather better dashing and transitions between Tech 2 and Tech 3, and better fights for Crazed in general. These two big attacks at the beginning left a lot of reclaims that allowed Crazed to start to build all these units that later on did so much damage to TA, and then he managed to keep pressuring TA, so he did never get to use all these reclaims that Crazed lost in his attacks, because Crazed just kept attacking, never giving TA the moment that he needed to be able to use all the reclaim, regain his position, and try to get in an even position again. So, nice game, very well played by Crazed, also by TA, just being a tiny little bit behind on things like this TMD.